It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed, and your brain decides right now is the perfect time to replay a conversation from 4 years ago. Something someone said, something you said, something you wish you had said differently. And the strange part is, it still feels unfinished. Like there's something in it your mind hasn't resolved yet. If that sounds familiar, you're not overthinking. You're not stuck in the past. Your brain is doing something very specific. And once you understand what it is, those replays will start to make a lot more sense. It doesn't always happen at night. Sometimes it hits in the middle of a shower, a drive, a quiet moment when there's nothing else demanding your attention. A conversation from months ago, years ago, sometimes a decade ago. And it's never random. It's always one of a specific type. The conversation where you didn't say what you really meant. The moment where someone said something that didn't sit right, and you smiled and moved on. The interaction that ended without resolution. The thing that was never properly addressed. Your mind keeps returning to those specific moments. Not all of them, just the ones that were left open. That's the first clue to what's actually happening. The brain has a very strong drive toward completion. When an experience reaches a natural ending, when something is understood, resolved, expressed, the brain files it away. It doesn't need to revisit it because it's done. But when something ends without resolution, without the right words being said, without the emotion being fully processed, without the meaning being understood, the brain doesn't file it. It keeps it open. It keeps returning to it the way your tongue returns to a loose tooth. Not because it enjoys the discomfort, but because it's still trying to finish something. Psychologists call this the Zeigarnik effect, the tendency of the mind to remember and return to unfinished tasks far more than completed ones. Those old conversations aren't haunting you. They're cued, still waiting for something your mind never received. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people assume they're replaying old conversations because they want to fix what they said, to find the perfect response, to rewrite the outcome. But that's rarely what the mind is actually looking for. What it's usually searching for is one of three things. Understanding. Why did that person say that? What did they actually mean? Why did it affect me the way it did? Expression. Something that needed to be said, felt deeply, but never came out. The words that stayed stuck. Or validation. A part of you that needed to be acknowledged in that moment and wasn't. A feeling that was dismissed, minimized, or ignored by the other person or by yourself. The replay isn't nostalgia. It's an unmet need still looking for somewhere to land. If this is already unlocking something, subscribe. This channel breaks down the quiet psychological patterns that most people feel but never have the words for. New videos every week. This pattern shows up most in people who grew up in environments where emotional expression wasn't fully safe or welcomed, where conversations ended abruptly, where feelings were dismissed, where saying what you actually meant carried a social risk, conflict, rejection, being told you were too sensitive. So they learned to swallow the unfinished thing, to smile and move forward, to process quietly and alone, rather than out loud and in the moment. And the mind adapted to that. It learned to hold things open internally because the outside world wasn't a place where they could be resolved. Years later, the environment has changed, but the pattern hasn't. The mind is still holding things open, still replaying, still waiting for a resolution that the outside world never provided. There's also something deeper here. People who replay old conversations are often people who think carefully about meaning. They're not just remembering what was said. They're asking what it revealed about the other person, about the relationship, about themselves. That kind of reflective thinking is actually a sign of high emotional intelligence, the ability to sit with complexity, to not just accept surface interactions at face value, to keep looking for what was underneath. The replaying isn't a flaw, it's a reflective mind doing what reflective minds do, searching for truth in the spaces between words. The cost is that it can loop without resolution. The mind keeps asking the question but has no one to answer it, so it asks again and again. So if your mind returns to old conversations, understand what it's actually doing. It's not punishing you. It's not proof that something is wrong with you. It's a mind that cares deeply about meaning. That needed something in those moments, understanding, expression, closure, and didn't fully receive it. And the most important thing to recognize is this. Sometimes the resolution the mind is searching for can't come from the past. that conversation is over. That person may not be in your life. That moment cannot be changed. But the need underneath it, the need to be understood, to express something real, to have your experience validated, that need is still present. And it can still be met, just not by replaying the past. Once you see what the mind is actually asking for, the loop starts to quiet. Not because the memory disappears, but because you finally understand what it was trying to say. The patterns that shape you are rarely the ones you can see clearly. This channel exists for people who want to look closer. Subscribe if that is you.